So the Attorney General of New York wants to be governor of New York, so she did a report on Andrew Cuomo, who, by the way, is not worth defending because he's a loathsome person and a terrible governor, but still, it's worth knowing the details of what happened. So once the report came out, the Democratic Party immediately decided Andrew Cuomo had to go and make way for a more left-wing leader. They cut off his ability to raise funds. They started to impeach him. Wait a second. What is going on? Nobody asked that question. Michael Tracey, one of the very few who did. That's because he's an independent journalist. He doesn't work for the Washington Post. He's on Substack. We talked to him. He's not a fan of Andrew Cuomo's, by the way, but it's worth knowing what happened. We just talked to him for an episode of Tucker Carlson today. Here's part of that really interesting conversation.
I have no affinity for Andrew Cuomo. I've disdained him for years, going back when I covered different campaigns of his,
right,
2014, et cetera. So I don't view Andrew Cuomo as somebody who needs defending. However, I view manufactured consensus as something that needs rebutting.
I totally agree. Sorry, I just have to interject 1 second.
Okay.
I don't know what you're about to say, but I suspect I'm going to agree with it. I know Andrew Cuomo. I've known him for more than 20 years. I knew him since he was HUD secretary in the Clinton administration. He's a totally weird guy with authoritarian impulses.
Megalomaniacal.
Totally. Super insecure, kind of crazy. Not stupid, I will say. But, and I think there are a lot of things you could criticize about his tenure as governor, which has been long and not good in my view. But what they're attacking him for, there's BS at the core of it. Anyway, I would just pause.
Right. And you might be able to ascertain that there was at least some BS at the core of the basis for these attacks. Yeah. If you actually read the report that was put out, that was supposed to be this bombshell, revelation, I read it. I don't think anybody else read it. This was an attorney general
You're the
report.
only one, man.
I mean, granted, you have to have sort of a weird temperament to want to read an attorney general report that painstakingly goes through all the purported sexual wrongdoing committed by Andrew Cuomo. So I accept that, but then again, I get paid to do this.
That's
so
your job, right?
Yeah, it's my job. So I did it, and okay, so accuser number 2, right? And we don't want to spend a whole tangent on Andrew Cuomo.
No, but it's interesting. Yeah. Because I want to hear what you said.
Okay, so accuser number 2 is arguably the most significant Cuomo accuser, because when she came out with her claims, it gave the impression that it was this mounting scandal, like a snowball effect, right? Because, once you have more than one person coming out in public and making allegations, it kind of gives credence, supposedly, to what's being alleged, right? Accuser number 2's central claim is that as a professional adult political operative who worked in the governor's office, she was, quote, groomed by Cuomo. Her interpretation of Cuomo's overtures or conduct toward her was such that she later says she came to believe that she was being groomed by him. Now, grooming is a concept ordinarily that gets applied to adults preying on children to kind of habituate them into becoming receptive to sexual advances, right? But this is an adult appropriating the kind of nomenclature of grooming to apply to Cuomo.
Well, you're taking language seriously.
Well, I mean, I would think that we should be a little bit specific or a little bit discerning when we're dealing with allegations like this, because guess what? It gets enshrined as precedent down the line, so it could affect somebody else you might hold in higher esteem than Cuomo. Right. And so, now that he's resigned, it's almost going to be taken as an article of faith that we are compelled hereby to just believe any adult who says they were groomed by a political figure. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. She wasn't even alleging any illicit physical conduct necessarily. She was just giving her interpretation as this activist-inclined, progressive operative who ended up in the governor's close orbit. And it's just, look, I know that it can be gratifying to come out and say, yeah, we cheer for the downfall of Cuomo, and maybe that is, there is some, gratification there if you have pent-up resentment toward him.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in probing logical incongruities and the bases for the false consensus that ends up such that we're all kind of ensnared by these new moral totems around us that seem to have been erected overnight.
So when you don't work for the New York Times, you can think clearly. That may be the lesson of Michael Tracey. The full interview is on Tucker Carlson today. It's on Fox Nation right now. We've shown you stories of parents fighting back.